evening or late afternoon, I should say. Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to be here. Before I introduce myself, I'm going to introduce my song. So, and you guys can use your raising hand symbols. You could raise your hand. You can interact. You do what you need to do. But please raise your hand if you've ever heard that song, Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. Awesome. One of my very, very favorite songs. I absolutely love this song because of the lyrics of the greatest love of all is happening inside of me. I found the greatest love of all. And it's all about loving yourself. And unfortunately, Whitney Houston, it does make me very, very sad that Whitney Houston, I always find, because you're adults, I could talk to you in an adult manner, but it's very ironic that Whitney Houston sang this song, but unfortunately did not believe so much in herself, which makes me so sad. And so to me, finding your greatest gift is really, really important, and loving yourself. And so I always start my day in my classroom with a song of the day. So that was my song of the day for you. And I'm going to introduce myself, and I'm going to kind of go back and forth where I'm going to pretend like you guys are in my classroom, and then I might stop and then just kind of explain to you what I'm doing and go back and forth that way. So my name is Jolie McDonald. I have been teaching, or I am currently not teaching right now, but I taught for 21 years. I taught kinder, first grade, fourth, fifth, sixth, and I did a 5-6 split last year. And when I did the 5-6 split last year, that's what led me to realize that I think I was just done being a teacher. Last year was my most successful year, and I was actually online the whole year. I did not go back into the classroom, and I had a split. And they basically said, you figure it out yourself, you do it, you do what you need to do. It's too crazy for all of us, just make it work. And I made it work, and I had 99% buy-in. I had one student that I had a little bit of a problem with, but he had problems before, but I had every student show up to every single Zoom twice a day. I had all my students, they all made growth. And I felt like it was just, if I could do just that through a computer, I felt like it was time for me to find something else I needed to do. So I've taken a year off, and I'm watching my grandson. So I'm doing that and working on some other things, but I taught at Live Oak Elementary my whole time. I've only taught at one school. And I am very much an outside of the box thinker. I'm very hyper, very kind of crazy. I'm one that pays very close attention to detail. And sometimes because of that, I don't fit in the group of teachers at times, because I'm just kind of out there and I see things very differently. But I've learned that that's what makes me me, and that's what I love about myself. And that is my gift, my greatest gift. So I have this little gift box. And my greatest gift is the fact that I am an out-of-the-box thinker. And I absolutely love that about myself. I have a little gift box. But my greatest gift is that I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you a little cue that I use in my classroom. And I just want to explain to you, I'm looking up because I have you guys all on a monitor because up top, because I like to see what's going on and I can't do both. I can't have my computer with my PowerPoint and have all my faces up top. So if you're like, why does she keep on looking up? It's because I'm looking at you guys. So I'm going to give you a cue. And like I said, you do what you need to do. I'm just going to go through this like I planned. So my cue is a duck whistle, or I'm sorry, a train whistle. So when actually I'm going to change, grab the wrong cue. I do have my duck whistle. Haven't used that in a while. So I have my duck whistle. And just to let you know, I just go around my house and I find different things that I have. I do have a train whistle. I have a duck whistle. I have a bell, all sorts of different things. So when I blow my duck whistle one time, I'm going to have you open up your chat if you have not opened up your chat yet. When I blow my duck whistle twice, I'm going to have you answer the question I'm going to ask. And then when I blow my duck whistle 3 times, I'm going to have you stop typing. Okay. Now, if you can't think of an answer, it is totally fine. Do not even worry about it. I don't want you to stress about it. Sometimes our answers come from looking at other people's answers and you're not cheating, you're borrowing them. And you might need a little inspiration as well. If you don't think of anything in the time that I give you, I will ask you again at the end. So I don't want you to feel pressured. You don't have to answer if you don't want to answer. No pressure at all. So I'll go over my directions again. First, when I blow the whistle 1 time, then you'll open your chat. When I blow my whistle twice, you'll answer the question. And when I blow my whistle 3 times, you will stop. Okay, are we ready? My question is, what is your greatest gift? So you should be opening your chat. I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, I'm going to have you all stop. And if you haven't already, I want you to take a look at what the different things people have written. I love these. I love these because I have to tell you that sometimes it is really difficult to figure out what your greatest gift is. I will be 50 in July, and it has taken me a long time to figure out what my greatest gifts in life are. So you have all done an amazing job at picking your greatest gift right away. A couple people I did said I'm not sure. I love that answer. I'm not sure is a phenomenal answer. It's a better answer than no answer at all. So don't forget that. That is really, really important. Okay. I'm not sure. I don't know. Great, great answer. Because a lot of students will just sit there and they won't have an answer and they just are kind of, So I always tell my students as well, I'm not sure. I do not know. Full and complete sentence. I love that because it will come in time. And if you give them permission to not, just, I don't have anything to say, then it gives them permission to never answer. So by saying, oh, I love that answer. I'm not sure. Oh, it's a full and complete sentence. Great job. I love it. Woo. And then the next time they're like, oh, I think I got this. I think I got this. So great way to motivate your students. Alrighty, so that was a fun little game and a good way to get to know you guys and see you all, and it's fun to, a lot of people put their family and their health. Little bit more info about me. I am a mother of 4. I have 2 stepkids, which I raised, and I have a grandson and another grandson on the way in 7 weeks. So I'm very excited about that. I have a daughter who I will be picking up next week from Washington. She goes to Gonzaga. And I have a son who will be 16 very soon. So a lot of life changes going on for me. So it's just, it's been a lot. It's been very, very crazy for me. A lot of exciting things, but scary things because it's all big life changes. So, all right. Renee, you want to put up the first slide?
Absolutely. Just give me a second.
Yeah, totally.
Also, I'm so excited that Jolie's here tonight, you guys. Jolie and I taught kindergarten together like 20 years ago, and she's one of the best teachers in the state of California.
Oh,
so we're very lucky to have her this week joining us. Okay, sorry, I'm admitting people.
That's okay.
At the same time. Oh, come on. There we go. It's good?
Yeah, and I'll have you do the second. All right, these are the top tips that I can think of in all my 21 years of teaching that I live by. And so I'm just going to read them and then I'll go over them a little bit more in detail. Be kind to the custodian and office staff. Flexibility is key in all situations. Dress for success. Oops, that should say be honest and real yet firm. But hey, guess what? We all make mistakes and I am not perfect. And so everything I put up is not perfect. When you see a teacher's manual, there'll be mistakes. When the students have workbooks, there'll be mistakes. And it is great to point out that there are mistakes in a lot of things. No curriculum is perfect. So this is kind of good that I have a mistake. Be honest, real yet firm. This will help gain trust. Okay, if you want to go back to me and I will talk about, it's okay. So the first one, be kind to the custodian and office staff. Number one. The most important thing I was ever taught in teaching, and I tell everybody this, and there's teachers that just, I don't know what it is. They have a hard time with this. And even if you do not care for the custodian and you do not care for the office staff, fake it to make it. Because let me just tell you, for some reason, they won't make your life very nice. So it's really, really important that you are kind to them. When it's time at the end of the year and they have like staff appreciation, I always get the custodian something and I always get my office staff something. Because I mean, honestly, I put up with a lot as a teacher, but the custodians put up with a lot. And the office staff, believe it or not, if you actually walked into an office and just closed your eyes and listened to what the office staff does, they put up with so much. They put up with all the teachers, they put up with all the parents, they put up with their principal, they put up with all the other staff, and then they have to do their job on top of it. So there's times where they might be cranky and they have a reason to be cranky because they have a lot on their plate. Nothing personal. So it's so important that you put that in your mind, that it's a lot of times it isn't anything personal. It's just they've just had a lot to deal with. So it'll make your life amazing. I could tell you a gajillion stories about people who are not nice to the custodians, and the custodians would not clean their rooms. Or just made their lives a little bit crazy. So I've never had that problem because the custodians were my best friends. So very, very, very important. Flexibility is key in all situations. Now, being a teacher for 21 years, I've always gone by this, being flexible. I don't know everything. I have not learned everything. I need to learn to be flexible. I need, when I have to, all of a sudden I have to do some data and I have to analyze data and I have to put it on a spreadsheet and I don't know how to use a spreadsheet. And all of a sudden I'm having this meltdown because I have 20 million papers to grade. You just have to be flexible. And I know for me, because I'm at that point and teaching where us older crabby teachers become less flexible and we become less open to change, and we become less open to people giving us suggestions. And that is one thing I've always lived by. I love suggestions. I love help. I love for people to give me tips and tools. I love to go into the staff room and hear what other teachers are doing. And I understand, because a lot of it's like, oh my gosh, one more thing, and you know, like the chatter. It's hard not to hear and listen to, but you have to understand that it's flexibility. You just have to be flexible. It's what we have to do. And that's what how I got through last year, was reminding myself that every day the state's changing the mandates of some sort, and I have to be flexible. It's no one's fault. I can't get angry at anybody. I just have to be flexible. Very important. Dress for success. Okay, I'm going to show you. I told you I'm a little bit crazy and out of the box. So I'm dressed today. I'm on Zoom. A lot of times, you know, with all the commercials too, they show you with people that are dressed like just the top and then their bottoms, they're wearing slippers. And I'm not judging anybody, but I'm going to show you. I have on boots. I'm all dressed. I got jewelry on and everything. I have makeup on. I feel good. Okay. If I were in sweatpants and a slippers and I just was half dressed, I'd probably feel half good. Okay. To be totally honest with you, I need to be fully dressed. And I don't own sweats. And I tell my students that too. I don't own sweatpants because when I put on sweatpants, I feel lazy, and I don't want to feel lazy because then I'm not motivated. So to me, it's really important. And a lot of times, I know when I first started teaching, we had our teaching outfits that we all wore. And the teachers all looked a certain way, and we had cute little vests and dresses and all sorts of stuff. The men wore ties, button-up shirts. Things have really, really shifted, And not to say that I don't want to be judgy, but I have to say my students, because, and I've asked them, and I've taught 6th grade, and they were very honest with me. A lot of them will mention different, they're like, gosh, Mrs. McDonald, you always look so nice. You know, you're always dressed really nice. And I have to tell you that they respect me differently. Fridays are my days where I would wear my t-shirt and jeans. I would always get a little bit of a different vibe. It was really, really interesting. So the kids notice everything. You're up front all day long, and they are staring at you all day long. So they notice everything you do. So being a good role model and making sure you dress for success is key. And it's really, really, really important to me. So, and then the last one is be honest and real. And I am very honest and real, and you will see that throughout this presentation. I like to bring in my real life into my classroom. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I like to share a lot of my life with my students. Just because a lot of my successes and my failures, I feel really can make an impact on them. So I want them to understand that I'm a real person too. And Renee and I were chit-chatting before, and we were talking about, she had asked me if I had my master's, and I told her I did not have my master's. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made. And I have to tell you, I wanted a new car. All I had to do was I had to take, I think, 3 more classes, but to me, I just wanted to get a job and buy a new car. And I was really young, and that was more important than getting my master's. Now I kick myself, because if I were to go back to school and get my master's, the amount of money it costs now for me to go back to get my master's, I will never be able to make up. So for me, and I'm being honest with you, if you have the ability to get your master's, get it, do it. Please, for me. So, okay. So again, I know a lot of you, I just see your faces or your names, which is totally fine. But again, I'm just going to pretend like this is a regular classroom and what I would do. So I'm going to blow my train whistle one time, and I'm going to have you all stand up. Okay. And then I'm going to blow my train whistle twice. And what we're going to do is we're going to inhale and exhale. And I'm going to have you put your hands on your stomach. And I'm just going to have you just feel your stomach go in and out. Okay. So I'm going to stand up too. I bought one of those desks that go up and down, and I didn't hook it up, but I'm going to stand up too. So I'll have you stand up. Okay, and I want you to inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. All right. Thank you. I always need that break myself personally as a teacher, and I've learned that more and more as the years go on, how important it is for me to take a break because I just get all ramped up and I get so excited, and then I have to realize that I have to like recenter myself. And you know how students are too, and kids are, they can't focus for very long. So make sure you read your audience. Very, very important that you read your audience. And if you feel like you're losing your students, make sure you take a break, no matter what you're doing. Very, very important. All right, so I'm going to talk about setup, and Renee, I'll just have you put up the slide, and then you can all read through it, and then I'll just go over everything. And then we can find some more mistakes, see if we have any other mistakes.
Let me know if it looks good. To me, it looks like okay. Looks good to everybody? Okay.
Okay, we'll come back to me, and then we will have this presentation for you after as well, if you want to look at that. So every year I always start my students outside, no matter what grade they are. A lot of the stuff that I do, even with my 6th graders and them being older, they were very respectful, and they actually really liked it. Structure is really, really important. And as much as kids might fight the fact that they don't want structure, they really need structure. They'll never tell you that, but just know the more structured you are, the easier your year will be. So I start my students outside, and I explain to them just this. We all have great mornings, and we all have bad mornings. When you walk into my classroom, we're starting fresh. Whatever happened in the morning, we leave outside. And we start fresh when we walk into the classroom. We all take a deep breath. And at the beginning of the year, I always have those, and I couldn't even think of the name of it, but those, the door where you hang it on the door and the streamers come down, I don't kind of thing. And I talk about the, you know, the older kids and even the younger kids, they want to like touch them and rip them. And I just explain, please be respectful because we need to, let's keep these up as long as we can keep these up. And if we pull on them, then they're going to fall down and then we won't even have them for tomorrow. So let's just make sure that we're respectful. And as we walk in, whoo, we celebrate. And that's when I have Spotify on my phone and I hooked it up to my computer. I don't even remember how at this point. That was like 2 years ago. And so I could actually just press play from the door and it would start my song of the day. And so I would always, I would pick a song and I would have my students walk into the song of the day. And I don't know how things are because like I said, I haven't been in a classroom for now almost 2.5 years. Wow, that's kind of crazy to think about that. But even pre-COVID, I didn't shake the kids' hands because I'm not a germaphobe, but I don't know. It just kind of, to be totally, again, I'm always honest, it kind of grosses me out. Because, you know, like sometimes you'll see the kid on the playground picking their nose and then they shake your hand. I don't want to shake their hand. So I do an air shake and I pretend and I say, oh, okay. And I make sure, so, and a hug, if they want a hug. My older 6th grade, nobody wanted a hug, but it's okay. I'll give them an option, hug or handshake. Now, this is really important because it sets their day up. And when I smile at them and I say, good morning, you know, sometimes I have had a crappy morning. And when they smile at me, it actually changes my day as well. So I'm doing them a favor and they're doing me a favor. And I didn't realize this until I was really consistent with it. And I was like, wow, it really changes my day too. And it also helps you to read your students to see which ones are struggling in the morning. And some of them at the beginning won't look at you in the eyes, because some of them that's cultural. Some of them just are really, really shy. And so I don't push, I just ease into it. I just kind of ease, or I'll get down and I'll bend down and I'll be like, hi, how are you? You know, even with the older ones, okay, good, all right. So it's very, very, very helpful. So hug or handshake, and we walk into a song of the day. And my students know that by the time the song of the day is over, they should have out whatever is listed up on the board. I don't know. With the older kids, it was their agenda. It could be with the younger kids, a journal, their writing journal, whatever they need to have done. That way I'm not using my voice. So they know that they're going to hear a song. And when the song turns off, they need to be ready for the morning. And some of them just need a little extra time as well. And they need to chit chat with their friends. And I'm not saying, please get out your work, okay, come on. You're not moving, you're not working. I learned that a little bit too like, it took me a while to learn all this kind of thing. I wish I would have learned it earlier in my teaching career, but it made my life so much easier and it saved my voice. So, and then I started getting other teachers to do the same. And they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This was really great. So by the time the song turns off, they should be ready. And if they're not, they will be really, really fast because they want to be like everybody else. So they'll work on fitting in. And also for my song of the day, I always have meaning. And so I shared with you the meaning of my song of the day today. Sometimes it'll be a silly song and I'll say, it really didn't have a meaning. I was just in a silly mood. It all depends. With my older students, they were like, could we pick a song? And I would be like, oh, yes, you can. And you could email me that song. And so that way I would, well, can't we just tell you? No, you cannot tell me. You have to email it to me or send it to me in Google. So that way it got them to type, make sure it's in a full and complete sentence, please, so I can read it. So that was another way to get my students to learn how to use a computer, to write in full and complete sentences. If they were younger, I'd find a different way, but it gets them excited and motivated. With my older kids, students too, if they did not turn in work over a long period of time, I would tell them, can we pick a song of the day? And I'd be like, oh, get that work in and I will pick that song of the day. Or I had one student and he was like, Mrs. McDonald, I'm always emailing you the song of the day. And I said, oh, honey, you know what? I have seen your emails, but I haven't received any of your work. So we kind of work together. You turn in your work, I pick your song of the day. Oh, okay. So it's just, learning different ways to motivate your students. And so picking a song of the day. Also with my older students, I learned very quickly that I needed to look up the words to their songs. I learned that really fast. And so make sure you do that and type in clean version or version without words or and then I'd ask my students to explain why they picked the song. So that way too, they get so excited when they hear the song they picked, and it's buy-in, and that's what we want, buy-in, most important thing. So that's kind of how I set my morning starts, and they do whatever they need to do in the morning. At the beginning of the year, I have them I set up my rules, and we work together to set up our rules. It's very important. Again, buy-in. They come up with the rules. I tweak it a little bit. I love everybody's rules and everybody's suggestions. That is the best. I love that one. That is so great. Maybe we'll use that in the middle of the year. Always making people feel good. Oh, that's a great one. But you know what? I think we're going to go with this and tweak it a little bit and have them posted. So I always do a rough draft of my rules and then I change them. And I have these giant, hold on. These are really expensive, but they are the best things in the whole entire world. I love them. And usually this is all I ask my parents for. They're like, don't you need Kleenex? No, I really just need giant sticky notes because
Jolie, I love that you said that, because the next time we do a face-to-face event, I'm going to buy those and give those away as like an opportunity drawing. Because I literally have one in my office because they're so expensive that I just keep it there so that way I always have it. So I love that you just brought that up.
Best thing ever. And everything I do, when I teach, I write on here. I don't write on, I'll use the smartboard, but I'll also have this next to my smartboard and I'll use this as well. Or if the kids go to recess or at the end of the day, I'll put whatever I have on here. And then I keep this up because when kids get bored, guess what they they need to stare at work. So I have work up. I'm not one to have a lot of student work up. I usually do that at open house. I don't know. I guess it just all depends on who you are and how you like your classroom. I am a very organized person, but to me, having stuff up all over my classroom when kids get bored to look at is so important. And a lot of this stuff is theirs as well. And then I use it for open house too, as well. So best thing ever. So I put the rules on this and then they stay up there. And then sometimes I could tweak the rules. And if it's on here, I could cross things out. I could add things. It is the best. Giant sticky notes. All right. Always model and practice when you're introducing new expectations and lessons. So again, I keep on saying this, even in 6th grade, I always model. I never assume anybody understands what I'm talking about because a lot of times they don't. And I ask the students to do something, and the longer I've taught, the longer I realize this. And I've observed other classrooms too, and I watch the teachers teach and they ask the kids to do something and half of them sit there like a deer in the headlight. And it's not that they're not listening, they really don't know what to do. They really don't know what to do. So I have to put myself in my students' shoes all the time. So I always model, even if it's the simplest, littlest thing. Like, okay, so when I blow my train whistle, I'm going to have you stand behind your desk. Now, this is how I want you to stand behind your desk. I want you to stand up and tuck your chair in because that is being polite. We always tuck our chairs in. And if we don't tuck our chairs in, it becomes a hazard because people are tripping all over the chairs and they can't move around the classroom. So let's practice. I'm going to blow my whistle. And if you have a chair, wherever you're sitting, I'm going to blow my whistle and you could stand up and practice tucking in your chair. Here we go. Stand up. Tuck in my chair. All right. And I'm also going to move around and do a little dance because I tucked in my chair. Woo!
Well, my chair is way too big to move.
Ah, that's okay.
Sorry.
No, that happens.
In my dining room.
Especially in virtual world. All right. And one of the best habits, I don't know if you, again, I'm not judging, but this is something else I learned in teaching. And weird. I always learned to tuck in my chair. That was something that like I learned through teaching because there's a lot of kids in the classroom. And now every time I go somewhere, I tuck in my chair. Even like if I'm in a waiting room somewhere and I'm sitting at a table, I get up and I tuck in my chair. And if somebody else's chair isn't tucked in, I tuck in their chair. So it's just good little skills, life skills as well that you're teaching your students as well. But I model it. And that's really, really important is modeling what you want, no matter what age you're teaching. It doesn't really matter. Model. So at the beginning of the year, I always tell my parents at back to school night, I may start really slow. And you may be like, well, my friend's daughter, they're like a little bit ahead, or they're doing this and they're doing that. And I'm like, we'll get there. And I have to tell you that that's how last year, I was really big with my parents about that. And I told my parents, please do not compare me to any other teacher. Please, because I'm going to move really slow. And teaching virtually, I had to model everything. I mean, it was like to the point where I took a whole month, the first month of school, and everything I taught, I had to model. And I think that that's why I was so successful, because I took that time and I gave my students the time to do that we moved mountains. I mean, after that first month, we moved so fast through everything because my students knew how to use every computer program. They knew what I expected. They knew how to turn things in. And sometimes we feel like we don't have that time as a teacher because you're given so much. And it's like, you got to make sure you do this and do that and have PE and art and blah, 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 and curriculum. But if you set your expectations with your students and how you want things to move and you practice it, everything moves 10 times faster. I promise you. And people don't want to, honestly, people do not want to hear that. We had a language arts adoption, and the first month of the language arts adoption was just learning how to be in a group and setting up norms for a group and setting up rules. And all the teachers were like, we're skipping the first month. We're going to go right to the teaching part. And I was like, well, I'm not, because I'm a rule follower. So I'm going to start at the beginning. And they're like, oh, that's a waste of time. And I was like, eh. And that is when I learned how important this was, because again, flexibility. I was flexible. I'd been teaching a long time. I don't know everything. I really don't. And I realized, wow, this is like incredible. This is so cool. Like taking time to teach them how to do all this, it set the stage for the rest of the year. And I moved much faster than the rest of the teachers after that first month because my kids knew exactly what to do. So it was awesome and amazing. So setting up, that's the beginning of the year. So one thing I'm going to have you guys do, I'm going to have you type something in the chat. Let's see here. I'm going to see if you can remember your favorite teacher's name, So I'm going to blow my duck whistle and you'll well, your chat should already be open. So I'm going to blow my duck whistle twice and you could type in your answer. All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you. I have a little story time. Mrs. McDonald always has her little story time. And I also have, I just have to tell you, when you're shopping, when you're out and about, and again, it doesn't matter what grade you're doing, what grade you're teaching, when things go on sale, or even sometimes you just have to buy them. And it's things like this that the kids love. Okay. Things that come out of your head. I put all my stuff away, but I literally will, like, just at the beginning in the morning, just have something silly kind of thing, just to break start the day. And it's called my wakey eggs and bakey. And I always tell my students too that in the morning, when you get up in the morning, pick one thing you're excited for, one thing, wakey eggs and bakey. And it could be to go to bed at night. Okay. So like sometimes, I don't know if any of you feel that way sometimes, like, sometimes I just like to, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go to bed. It's the first thing I think of. So having something fun in the classroom in the morning, or even after recess, just to put on, just to lighten the mood a little bit. And it's something your students will remember forever. I have to tell you that, forever. During Christmas, or the holidays, because I did have a menorah hat, but I would do a hat of the day every single day. And at the very end, the last day before break, they had to tell me all the different hats that I wore. And it was a little game we played, but I didn't have any winners because it was just a fun little game. So just fun little things, teaching is acting. I always feel like I'm on a stage, and here's my little story. I hated school. I was a horrible student. I barely graduated high school. I'll never forget. I came home right like in May, and my mom was crying because I was going to fail and I wasn't going to pass. And school was really always just really difficult for me. I didn't like it. I didn't feel successful in school. It just was really, really difficult for me. And there was other things. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a news reporter. I wanted to be a psychologist. There were so many things I wanted to be. And guess what? I am everything that I wanted to be. I get to do all those jobs every single day. And that's what, like, yeah, I don't get paid the big bucks and stuff like that, but I love that I get to do everything I've ever wanted to do. And I think a lot of teaching too is acting, and one of my things too, and some of my notes here, you set the tone. So if you're in a bad mood or you have something going on, your kids can feel it. They really can feel your tone. So I don't know if the group who I have on here, but I know High School Musical and Sharpay, and she would always be like, brr, brr. Okay, so every morning, literally, I'd be like, okay, there's those mornings, it's kind of crazy, and I'm just like, brr, brr. Okay, let's go, we're on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a Mrs. McDonald show. But I would always just kind of have to remember that, because it literally, they're watching you all day. All right, behavior rewards. So if you want to show the reward. Yeah,
absolutely. Also, Jolie, I want to make sure you saw that there is some chatter in the chat that you need to be have your own TikTok.
Okay, I tried that. I did. I'll totally be honest with you. I did try my own TikTok, but didn't work out as good as I thought, but I needed to practice more, and it was during the COVID craziness. So
Maybe you should do
thank
it
you.
now.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to turn on the fan really quickly while you read this because I'm starting to sweat.
Also, if anybody wants the slides, don't worry, we can absolutely give them to you after. We just don't do it at the front because we don't want people to jump ahead.
All right, make sure there's no mistakes in there. See if there's any mistakes. All right. Rewards. Okay. And I forgot, I have glasses. How many of you have glasses? How many of you wear glasses? Okay. Sometimes I forget to wear my glasses. And when I forget to wear my glasses, I really can't see that well far away. And I haven't worn glasses for that long. So a lot of times I forget to wear my glasses. And, you know, I think I look kind of studious in my glasses. And I'm not embarrassed to wear my glasses because I really do like my glasses. Took me a while to get used to it. At first, I didn't like them. And then I just would wear them more and more. And then people would give me compliments. And I even have sparkles on the side of them because I needed some sparkle in my life. And my glasses are a tool. So if I forget to put on my glasses or if I forget to wear my glasses, it's almost like me forgetting to bring a pencil to school or forgetting my work at home. So it's just really, really important that I remember my glasses every day. So this is one thing that you will find. Students don't like to wear glasses, just to let you know. And as they get older, it gets worse and worse. So I make it a point to celebrate glasses because it's really important that we celebrate. We're all different. And some of us need glasses. And some of the kids love to share about that too. And then there's something else that I learned too. Sorry, total side note, because I was going to talk about rewards, is that and I did say this before, put yourself in your students' shoes. So I have students that wear glasses so that they could see the board because they can't see far. And then I ask them to read something in their book. And if you've ever worn glasses and you're wearing glasses to see far away, it's really difficult to look down and read something in a book. Never dawned on me ever until I got glasses myself. And I was thinking to myself, how did these kids see they can't even read their books because their glasses are for far away? You know, and having that conversation with them and explaining and just getting to know them and understand them and how they see and not getting frustrated and putting yourself in their shoes is key. So celebrate the glasses. All right, rewards. I learned the most life-changing thing, I'd have to say about 7 or 8 years ago. And I went to this class, and this guy, Larry Bell, his name is Larry Bell. I just have to tell you, Larry Bell changed my life. And I went with a whole group of teachers, and I think I was the only one that literally came back and used everything. We called him Lars. We made up a name. Everything Lars taught us, I needed to do with my students. And Lars told us, I promise you it's going to work. You know, how many times do we hear that? He was totally right. So one of the things that he taught us was the ticket jar. Okay. These things are gold. Okay. And again, I didn't believe him, but I was like, all right, I'm going to try. And he worked with inner city kids, like the lowest kids in the whole state. 50 states, because he would be called into these schools to kind of help. And some of these schools, it was high school, and he would use these tickets even in high school. The tickets, again, these will change your life. Here's why. Numero uno. When the students come in and they walk into the classroom and my music is playing and they have the directions up on the board and they know what to do, I just walk around with my tickets sometimes I love to put my tickets around my neck. Get a big thing of tickets and I'll just put them around my neck. So, and I just walk around the classroom. I don't say a word. I just put it on the desks of the students that are doing what they need to be doing. And then all of a sudden, everyone's doing what they need to be doing, because who doesn't want a ticket? And so the older kids would write their names on it. The younger kids, you might need to actually have a parent pre-make tickets or something. I don't, with the numbers, or they could, the younger ones could know. I don't know. I'm sure it will work out with the younger kids too. I didn't start using this until 4th grade. So these things, literally, again, everyone wants a ticket. Everyone. So I use these all day long. All day long. Okay, does anybody know the answer for number 1? All I have to do is pick up my tickets. That's all I have to do. Like, my tickets will be behind me. I'll pick up my tickets. Or I'll have,
Jolie,
like,
can I chime in for just a
yes.
second? Because I was totally, I was totally a ticket person, and a lot of people think it's controversial, but I was somebody that it was like you, where it's random and constant, and it's like everybody always had a chance. And I do things where I'd grab that roll and I'd be like, okay, this one is going to be so hardcore. Whoever decides to get this answer is going to get 25 tickets. And the whole room was like, oh, and you could do that 15 times in a day. And it would still elicit this just instant reaction and connectivity and desire to be part of it. And so the ticket really doesn't have that much meaning, really, if you think about it. But to them, it's this such tangible recognition that they're somehow into something or involved in something or in the mix of something. And I love that you're sharing this, because sometimes people think that tickets are a negative. I am 100% with you. I've had a totally positive experience in my education, but I also didn't use it like it was only like reward or punishment. It has to be random and for like a ton of reasons. It's not about pulling tickets away or taking away. It's more like an asset to make them want to be it versus like kind of standing back. Sorry to interrupt there, but I just love tickets.
That's no, it gives me a second to read what people are writing as well. Party City has these. I'm sure Amazon.
Walmart. You can get it at Walmart.
Oh, Walmart too, yes. And then somebody else said too, a token economy. A lot of the older kids do use money kind of thing, and that way too, learning how to add and subtract and things like that. For me, I have to tell you, to be totally, I did use behavior charts at the beginning, but behavior charts are for naughty kids. And I don't even want to say naughty kids. I take that back. That was horrible for me to say. That is for kids with behavioral problems. They're not behavior problems. They have behavioral problems. And a lot of them can't help it. And so it's the same ones. And then when my kids were little, they come home from school and they're like, Stevie got a red card again, and then it sets that one kid up that has a behavior problem to be targeted as a behavior problem, and kids start to not like them. And I'm not judging on teachers that use the marble jars or the behavior charts or the sticker charts. This works for me, and I don't have to do anything. Okay, it's a positive thing. And the sticker charts, to me, like, some teachers will do the sticker charts and they will, at the end of the day, they're like, oh, take out your charts. And then they have to walk around and give a sticker. And for me, I just have to tell you, that's too much. It's just too much for me. I can't handle it. So when Larry Bell showed me this, it changed my life. So for my students that don't want to answer or aren't following directions, I find a way to give them a ticket. I find a way to have them earn a ticket. There's always a way to earn a ticket. I love the way you sat down in your chair today. that was a really good job. And you just go over there and you say it really quietly to them. And then the other kids see that that one kid that has a behavior problem is getting tickets and they're actually doing some good things, you know, and it sets the tone as well. So everybody gets a ticket. Wrong answers. Okay, wrong answers. I love students that have wrong answers. Love it. And I don't let anybody else answer after a student has the wrong answer. I have them problem solve and they come up with the right answer. And sometimes I really have to really lead them to get the right answer. But if you really think about it in school, how many times you've answered and it was wrong, and then somebody else answers for you and you just don't feel good. It doesn't make you feel good. And if you worked through it and somebody worked and helped you to find the correct answer, you feel good. You do. So I never, ever say, oh, okay, no, that's not right. Moving on. Okay, who else has the answer? We always work through the answer. And I always express to my kids too, and they don't get it. And I go over and over and over. Anybody have any questions? Nobody ever has any questions. So somebody will ask, Mrs. McDonald, I do have a question. And then I said, okay, then I stop everybody. Everybody stop. Who else had that same question? And then all of a sudden you're like, and I'm like, okay, so if nobody asked that question, I would have moved on and thought you knew all the answers and thought you understood how to answer this question, and nobody would ever know. So I set up at the beginning of the year that there is never a silly question. There is never a silly answer. That whatever you have to say, we're all going to respect. And that is key, because I can't tell you how many times students have told me that they have felt embarrassed, that they have felt belittled, that it ruined their whole year because they were told that they were wrong. So to me, it's so important that I never belittle any of my students, and that I always make them feel important, even if it's just picking the littlest thing to make them feel important. So now it's kind of nice because I'm kind of talking about other things that I was going to talk about and intertwining the ticket jar. So the kids know quietly just to come up and put their tickets in the ticket jar. They figure out when the appropriate time is. Sometimes it might not be during a lesson. Sometimes I'll just say, why don't you hold your tickets until the end of the lesson, kind of thing. Rewards. Okay, this is the crazy thing. And I did not believe Larry Bell. Okay. So when I got back, I had fourth graders and they kind of needed a quicker turnaround with things. So every month I'd literally have just a bunch of junk. I'd ransack my kids' rooms, whatever I had to do. I'd ask parents to bring in stuff and I would literally dump the box of junk, like, well, it wasn't junk to them. I'm sorry, the box of treasures out in front. And I would do a raffle. Okay. And actually, no, I forgot. This was when I think I did the double tickets. I used to do the double tickets. So they would keep their tickets in a bag and then I'd have the other end. That's what I did. So for a while I used double tickets with the younger ones because I wanted them to be able to A, be responsible to keep their tickets. That was fun. And I was really surprised they all did. And B, when it was raffle time, to be able to follow along and read their tickets. And you cannot believe the sense of community that came together. I had students that couldn't keep up. Other students would help them read their tickets. Somebody would get called up to the office and they'd be like, don't worry, I got you. I'll help you. I'll keep an eye. I'll read your tickets. I'll do your tickets too, kind of thing. And it really helped bring a sense of community. So I would raffle off and it was the craziest thing. Again, the kids know the kids who are behavior problems, who have behavioral problems, and they get tickets too. So they would get something and some kids would have 50 tickets in here and some of my kids would only have 2 and I'd be like, oh, yeah. And they're like, oh, I have 50 tickets in here. And then I was like, oh, this is a great time to talk about probability and winning things, and everything's a lesson. Everything's a lesson. So we took time to learn a lot of things. Again, fourth grade, I felt like the turnaround needed to be quicker. But in sixth grade, I pulled tickets every 3 months. And I bought $25 gift cards, and I would buy two $25 gift cards. That was it. And for 3 months, it didn't matter. These were golden. And I really didn't think it would work, because I thought they would give up, because they were like, oh, I didn't get picked. You're only picking 2. Forget it. I'm not even going to try. Oh, no. When it's $25 to Xbox, and I asked them, what do you guys want me to pick? What do you want that $25 to do? If you're a starving teacher, which most of us are at the beginning too, and even at the end, ask your parents for donations. Ask your parents for donations. Because let me tell you, a gift card, and again, I only picked 2, and they worked their booties off. It didn't matter. And then at the end of the trimester, I'd dump it into the trash. Woo, let's celebrate. And we dump it into the trash. I'm like, starting all over again. And it was amazing. It literally was amazing. They really did not care. They worked, and I did that for years. Last year, I decided to do a giving back, because I was kind of on this weird tangent to do, we need to give back. Like I felt like my students all had too much. Like, you guys all have too much stuff. Like, I get that you want to be rewarded, but we need to reward and give back to our community, because we did a whole thing about talking about how giving and helping people make us feel. And that was like a whole lesson. And I took a whole week to do a lesson on how we feel when we help others. So every 3 months, I picked 5 names, and because I was saving money on gas and going out to lunch, I had a little bit more cash. I picked 5 names, and I picked $15, and they would pick a charity of their choice. And I started in November, and I had a tree, and they all had to pick a charity they wanted to donate to, and I put it on their name and their charity on a tree, and it was the giving tree. And so one of my last slides, I think I made, because I wanted to give them something, I did give them a check. I made them a check, and I gave them a little candy, but they all worked so hard because they wanted to give to their charity. So, and then somebody's talking about recycling. I like that too. And that's where I like to get some cash for the class. I love it. I love it because those big items make your students work, and it is hard. I mean, it is really hard money wise for donations. So I love that idea of recycling and get some cash for the class. Great idea. Okay. I'm going to have us stand up again, and let's let's all snap and tap your toe, and let's snap with the other hand. How many of you can make a noise with both? Because I can't. Only one of my fingers makes a noise. It's kind of weird. The other one does. Snap, but a snap. Move around for a second. Woo! Okay, and have a seat. All right. Sometimes I do a class field trip, and I go, class field trip, woo! And we all line up quietly, and we just walk around the building. And they're like, oh, okay. I need it. The students need it. Sometimes I give my students their own class field trip, and I'll walk up to them and touch them on the shoulder, and I'll say, you know what? You need to take a little field trip. I just want you to walk to the restrooms and come back. Okay, thanks. All right. Because sometimes taking yourself out of a situation alleviates everything for everybody. It helps you as a teacher. It helps the student because sometimes they don't realize they need it. And they do. So field trips, very important.
Jolie, I used to do that too, and they would say to me, like, I can do that. And I'd be like, yeah, go take a break at the water fountain, take a little walk around campus. And I'd go, I need a break from me sometimes too. Like,
Mhm.
that's okay. But you could see if somebody's getting tense or just getting outside can completely shift a day. So instead of a kid going sick to the nurse's office, or you know what I mean? Like, you can be watching and do some preventative stuff.
Absolutely. All right, the VIP slide. I knew I could talk forever. I'm gonna try to get to the VIP stuff.
Can you guys see it okay?
I'm gonna talk while this one's up.
Okay.
This I did put up here, and it's just a little stuff from conscious discipline, which I absolutely love. All the teachers really disliked me because I do all this. I've always done all this. This is how I've always taught. It comes extremely easy to me. And I think a lot of teachers do a lot of the things anyways, but when it came down on the teachers and like, one more thing, we have to learn one more thing. I was like, give it, bring it on. And I started reading and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such great information. I love all this stuff. So, and I know you have some, I don't know if they've already passed, but I know you had some conscious discipline workshops.
We're actually in the middle of it right now. Jackie Vasquez from the Castaic district is leading a 3-part series. So if I remember correctly, I think she's 2 parts in with 1 more part to go. So we're a believer in conscious discipline as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. There are some things that are put on our plate that I might not believe in, and I just still do them. But to me, this couldn't have come at a better time. Honestly, it almost was like it was starting before COVID. So it wasn't like it happened because of COVID. This shift literally couldn't have happened at a better time. So I really feel, and one of the biggest things that will save you is getting to know your students, understanding your students, understanding how they work. It will save you and it will save them. So utilize connections, not control as motivation. So take time to connect with them. Ask them questions about their lives. Get to know them. It helps. Like when my students are having a problem, I'll just say, hey, can you explain to me why you're not understanding this? Can you explain to me why you're banging your head against the wall? I don't know. Like tell me why you're doing this because I don't understand. Why didn't you turn in your homework? Okay, why did you sit there and why didn't you finish your test? Like, what can we do to help you and they just kind of look at you like you're crazy because no one's ever talked to them that way. And when you take the time to get to know them and how they work and how they tick, they'll start working for you. Because again, it's buying in and you're getting to know them. A lot of times at the end of the day, I'm done teaching and I just am tired and I probably do have some curriculum that I need to get done, but I'm done. I'm done. And I would do I'd call them town hall meetings. And I'd just be like, oh, we're done. We're doing a town hall meeting. And I just said, let's just talk. I want you to pretend I'm not a teacher. We're just all going to talk as a group. And I would ask them, what's upsetting you? What bugs you when you go out on the playground? When you go eat lunch, what is something that makes you happy? And we just taking time to get to know your students or, oh, hey, were you just in a soccer tournament? I see you're wearing a soccer shirt. How did that go? Really being in tune and connect with your students. To me, that's more important than curriculum. Yes.
Yes. So what I do for my classes, I have Post-its that I make sure at least like 3 times a week, I have them write what they're thinking on the Post-it. That could be very personal. Sometimes I read the Post-it. Sometimes they feel something about their household. They share a lot on the post-it, and they don't need to put their names. They just put the post-it up there, and I go through it. And many times we have prevented a lot of kids from doing a lot of things, to themselves. If I see something, I say something, but what they do is they just share. They feel comfortable enough to share on that post-it, and each post-it is different color depending on their mood. So I find this to be very, very helpful in my classroom. Plus the discussions, we do a lot of discussions on Schoology where kids can actually speak their mind as long as they are appropriate or, they're proper. So I give them questions, they post it, and they interact. They, it's just amazing dynamic for high school students.
And it honestly, like, I know for me, I'm one of those rule followers too, where it's like, how am I going to get my curriculum done? How am I going to get all this done? And now you want me to have my kids write down their feelings or write, but I have to tell you, from doing that and taking that time to say, you know what, I've been doing this for years. I know what works. You know what? No, I am going to do this. And there's times where after school too, I sit and I read through, because I would do that too. And I'd read through some of them and I would cry. But because, like last year I had a student who was living in a car.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And just me knowing that, it's not like I treated it, nobody noticed that I treated him any different, but it made me really take a step back and realize that so many people are going through so much, and then they have to come to school and do work at school. I mean, it's a lot. It really, really is a lot. And so I feel by really doing all these things and getting to know your students, it helps them and it moves them. And it's something they'll always remember. I know for me. And like I said, I've always done it this way. That's just always how I've worked. I go through their cumes a lot of times and I'll get to know them as well. Just because sometimes kids don't want to share, or, I just want to know everything about them. That's, to me, that's buying it, and they love that. And this is something I always tell my students too. I am with you more than I am with my own kids and with my husband. I spend more time with you. So you are my kids this whole year, because let me count the hours. Let's see, by the time I get home, I'm with my kids 5, 6, 7, 8, they go to bed at 9, 4 hours. I'm only with my kids 4 hours. And if they go to sports, that's even less. And in the morning, sometimes I don't even see them. So you are my students. You are my class. So it's important that we trust each other. So celebrate the smallest successes. I already kind of talked about that too, where I celebrate everything. I want everybody to feel good. And a lot of your behavior issues, a lot of times kids can't help it, or they're acting out, or there's an underlying issue. And there's a few that I've had over the years that I couldn't reach. I think I've only hit 2 in all my 21 years. Because I take the time to celebrate and I take the time to get to know them, and whatever works for them. Like, oh, you need to take your test outside. Well, then take your test outside. Oh, you need to do this. Well, you want to use your notes, use your notes. My sticky note thing, giant sticky notes, I leave up the whole time. And some kids will come up and they'll be like, Mrs. McDonald, the answer is, you know what, Renee, you could take off the slide. The answers, you left the answers up. And I'd be like, guess what? If you're smart enough to find the answers and use it, then use it. And guess what? You already know how to do it, so you don't even really need that. So just don't tell anybody, it's a secret. So I leave them up. Sometimes I'll take them down, but honestly, like if you can find it, use it. All right, I'm going to talk about, I know let's see, I have tools and more tools, and I have tons of tools. Because like I said, I'm always learning, and every single year, again, I'm not judging, but I was never one that would take out my plan book. A lot of teachers take out their plan book from the year before and their plan book for this year. And they literally just write, okay, right. Oh, we did this last year. And every year is a new year for me. I have a whole new group of students. What worked last year might not work this year. It's just how it is. I treat every year as a new year. So I'm going to teach you something else I learned from Larry Bell that I actually did. And if you do it the right way, this is a life changer. This is what I learned from Lars. Okay. A test. Well, actually, this I didn't learn. I made this up. But a test is called a show what you know. And we talk about it. How do you feel when I say the word test? You know, like some kids are like, I love tests. Oh, that's so great. I'm glad you love tests. A lot of times tests brings the word anxiety. And I know, well, in the real world, people are like, well, we have tests as a job. Like we have to take tests. Okay. But in my mind, I'm one that like, we call it a show what you know. I've always been that way. I have to tell you a secret. I'm not a big person that practices for state testing, because here's the deal. If I teach my students how to not be anxious and how to learn to sit down and breathe and work through something that's stressful to them, it doesn't matter if I've gotten through all the curriculum. If they know how to break apart a question, which I teach, break apart an answer, have the stamina to work through it, not have an anxiety and a panic attack, then you know what? They're going to be able to answer the questions that I haven't taught. And if I drill and kill all the time at the end where it's like, here, work on this big packet, and you put it on their desk right before state testing, like I know when I was younger, it just gave me the biggest anxiety. So I've never told any of the other teachers because they would not be happy, or my principals. I would take the packets and I'd hide it in my closet. And then at the end of the year, I'd throw them away. And I have to tell you, and I am not a bragger. I'm very modest. It's taking me this long to realize, 21 years to realize, like, I think I did something right in teaching. But all my kids made growth, all of them. And I always was given the class that had the kids that had issues, always. Oh, give it to Mrs. McDonald. Woo! And no one ever patted me on the back and said, wow, look at the growth you made. You don't have any kids in red. Okay. You had tons of kids in red and now you don't. It was like, oh, fourth grade did great as a whole. And I'd look at my scores and I'd be like, yeah. Okay. Well, all my kids moved. They moved mountains. So that anxiety is key. So I would always be like, we're going to do a show what you know. And guess what? If you don't know, you can't show. Right. Okay. So if you didn't learn, I need to know that you didn't learn. And then I can move on from there. So if I have my students that failed something, I need to know why they failed it. And then I take time to go backwards with them. Show what you know. And then I'd always be like, oh, we have a test. I mean, I show what you know coming up. You know, and I'd always, so state testing, you're just showing me what you know. And guess what? If you didn't learn anything all year, then I need to know that you didn't learn anything all year. And we need to figure out for next year why you didn't learn anything this year. So show what you know. Here's the thing. When you're taking a test and someone is done with the test and you're not, raise your hand if it totally pulls you off task because you're worried about what everybody else is doing. Raise your hand if you've felt that way before. I know for me, and then I have to go back and reread where I was. And then somebody else is getting up and they're turning in the test. And then somebody else is taking out a book and I'm like, oh, they're reading a book. Oh my gosh. Also, kids that love to read books will rush through a test because guess what they want to do? They want to read a book and they want to work on their to-do stuff because they didn't finish their to-do folder and they have a whole folder that's like, oh, to-do, okay, I got to finish my to-do work. And so when we even state testing, when we're done with the test, we have to put our hands on the desk and sit up straight. And let me tell you, I had my students that were constantly failing, and they actually took the time to finish the test because they didn't want to sit for 45 minutes with their hands on the desk sitting straight up. And if they started to slouch, I'd be like, now, what are the rules? The rules are hands on the desk, sitting straight up. Now, this is where Larry, this was what I learned from Larry. And this is, he's like, and if they are finished, tell them to go back, check their answers. And then give them extra credit. And I'm like, oh, that's where he killed me. I was like, Larry, extra credit? Dude, I don't even have time to like even copy the tests. How am I going to think of extra credit? So I was like, all right, extra credit. I want you to pick 5 questions from your test. And if you answered or explain to me why you answered the way you answered them. Or if it's a science test, draw me a model of one of the concepts that you have learned. So I literally took something from the test and turned it into extra credit because like there's no way. And you would be surprised how well my test scores went up because I had 100% buy-in. Even it was really funny. The first year I did it, my straight A students were like, they would finish their tests and they put their hands on their desk and they would just sit there like just cocky, like, I don't need to do extra credit. I have an A. I don't care. I'm not going to check my work. And I'd be like, oh, remember. And they'd start slouching or like, what do you have to do? And all of a sudden they'd start doing the extra credit. And I'd be like, extra credit, I'm writing down. If you do extra credit, I never use extra credit. Honestly, I just said I did and I didn't do it. And if it really came about where I needed to give somebody a score and they were doing extra credit all the time, I bumped their grade up, but I never used it. I just told them I did. But it alleviated kids getting up, kids turning in their tests. And I had a teacher who did the same thing, but she had the students still, when they were finished with their test, walk their tests up. Okay. Again, as soon as somebody gets up in the room, and I tell them to, you may not get up unless you're dying. And if you're dying, you can't get up because you're dying. So, and then they would know to, like, if it's a real emergency, please let me know, kind of thing. But they got it. And it really changed everything. I mean, it really did. It really took those kids that struggled to work and do the work because failure was an option in their life, that failure wasn't an option and they actually had to do the work. So awesome. They couldn't read. They couldn't do they couldn't draw. Can we do draw? No. What are my rules? And it took a few times. It did. I'm not going to lie. It took a few times, but it really, really, really helped. Organization. Teachers are the most unorganized people. If you ever look at a teacher's desk, I know for me, when I walk in different teachers' rooms, it gives me the worst anxiety because we keep everything. We want to keep everything. We want to hoard everything. We are afraid that like free. Oh, I need this. Or you see something on sale and you buy everything. And all of a sudden you have so much stuff in your classroom that it's hard. And I decided that I needed to be a good role model. And so I literally got rid of everything. I got rid of my desk. I did not have a desk because if I had a desk, guess what? I'm going to put junk on my desk and it's just going to pile up. So I got rid of my desk. I got rid of my students' desks. I turned them around so they couldn't use their desks. And I modeled how, okay, we're going to take this paper. And you can do this with the younger kids and they can even have a desk. But this is how I started my year. Everybody hold your paper, wave your hand, wave your paper in the air like you don't care, but you really do. And you're going to take out your folder out of your desk. And you're going to put your paper in your folder. And I actually started this in 6th grade. So it wasn't too big for that. Let me hear those binders clip. Okay, let me hear those folders open. And if somebody wasn't doing it, I'd just walk over and I'd be like, oh, but everybody wanted to do it. That's the thing. That was the thing. Oh, take your paper. Like we would model it. We'd do it together. I would take the time. I would take time out of my day to okay, oh, don't forget that paper does not go there. That paper goes on the left side. Remember, or that book goes here. Let's work on that. And I was that student that had that paper crumpled up and the teacher would ask me to take it out and it was like shoved and like I'd have to pull everything out of my desk and I'd be like, here it is. And then I would be so embarrassed because either I couldn't find it or it was a hot mess. So to me, setting your students up for success really, really helps. Again, I haven't taught in a while, so I know a lot of stuff is done online now, kind of thing, like COVID. There's good things that came out of COVID, and I think doing everything on the computer really helped with the paper pencil stuff. But modeling, and I have to say too, I know for me, I would walk around and I would, at the end of the day, I would look at my students' desks because there were years that some students couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle not having a desk. And I would look and I'd be like, oh my, every single one of my students' desks was clean and organized. And they knew where everything was. And there was no panic. And it alleviated a lot of stress in their day because they always knew where everything was. But I took the time to model. I took the time to show them exactly what I wanted and what I needed. And that was another thing that was really important. Only have what you need on your desk. And I know some kids love to set up shop. Again, some teachers are different. Some teachers, it doesn't bug them when the kids set up shop and have like 10 cute little erasers and 15 pencils. And some kids can handle that, but guarantee half of your class can't. And it's going to pull your others off task. And honestly, I show the kids too. I'm like, does your pencil ever talk to you? Does your eraser ever have a face on it? Well, mine does sometimes, and mine does talk to me. So I'm only have 2 pencils. So at the beginning of the year, again, everything gets sent in. And I tell the students, your parents are not going to be happy with me because I'm sending half of it home. Because you'll always have a list of stuff, or I'll keep it in my closet. And I'll be like, if you need more crayons, come and get me. You don't need an 800 box of crayons because you don't need 800 crayons. So, well, my mom sent it and I need 5 Sharpies. Okay, no, you don't need 5 Sharpies. You need 1 Sharpie. And if you need another one, always come and ask me. I always have plenty of stuff, and I'm going to take the other 10 that you brought in and I'm going to keep them in my cabinet for a rainy day when you need another one. So just alleviating every single weird kind of odd situation. And sometimes I feel like I'm almost like too like regimented, but after so many years of, I kept on adding more and more and more, it saved me so much time. And it just, again, it set the students up for success. And that's the most important thing, is setting them up for success, not failure. And I think that that's what's made me as a teacher so successful, is that I've always set my students up to succeed. And when I have done that, they work for me. And I've had students come back. I taught science, just science for a few years. So I would only have them for 45 minutes, an hour. And they were my sixth graders, and there'd be days I'm like, I'm not teaching science today. We're talking about life. Let's just talk about life. What is life like as a sixth grader? What is life like as a sixth grader? Because I really don't know. And to be honest, I don't know what life is like as a sixth grader. And we would just talk. And I've had students come back or email me and say, Mrs. McDonald, even though you weren't my teacher, you were the most important person in my life because you believed in me and you believed that I could sing. I'm like, I did? Oh, okay. You know, but it was just, you were the only one, my dad and you, it was just you. And I'd be like, oh, wow, that's really, really great. Because I took the time. I took the time to get to know that student. I think I let her sing or something. I don't even remember. Oh, come on up and sing. Come on up. Oh, everybody, so-and-so is going to sing. So just taking that time is so important. And they love it. And they will, it's not like I want every kid to remember me forever, but I want them to feel successful, and I want them to not be stressed. I want school to be somewhere you go and you feel safe, and you want to be there, and you want to be there. Everyone is unique, and everyone has their own gift. And to be very honest, and again, I'm very honest, I share my life with my students. Sometimes I make up stories, and they're called fiblets, and I'll tell them little fiblets just to kind of like make situations like better kind of things. So I'll be like, oh, this one, I'll never forget this one day. And I'll just, it's total side note. And they're like, Mrs. McDonald, you always tell side note stories. I know, but they're just so good. Sometimes I do have to make them up. But I have to tell you that before COVID, I was struggling as a teacher. And I think my time was done. My time was kind of done. I promised myself that the day I felt that my teaching was a job was the day that I needed to be done. And because I'm not going to be worth anything to my students, and the impact I make on a daily basis is huge as a teacher. And you have to remember that too. Like they look up to you. And I knew that it was a job to me, and that I was starting to get a little cranky, but how could I leave? Like, this is what I went to school for. This was my career. This was like my money. This was my bread and butter. And I took this course during the summer, and I really took time to get to know myself. And for the first time ever, I figured out my gift. And my gift, I did say I was an out-of-the-box thinker, but it's really not. I was a little fiblet. I am an out-of-the-box thinker, but my biggest gift is that I am I can never say this word, an empath. I always say that wrong. But I can read a room. I have the gift of being able to read people. And it's almost like I'm a chameleon. I can fit into any situation. And that is what has made me successful. And I always thought of that as a negative thing, because I could always feel what other people were feeling, and it drained me. And as an educator, that's what killed me, was the fact that I would feel everything every single one of my students were feeling, and I couldn't turn it off. And I wish somebody would have told me at the beginning, you have to turn it off. You have to, people would say, leave your work at work, and come home. But I needed somebody to psychologically shake me and just say, stop, you can't save everybody. And because no one ever did, I had total burnout. And it's just the type of person I am, but it's made me, I feel like a very successful teacher. And for me to say that, I've never said that. And I got Teacher of the Year. I received Teacher of the Year a few years ago, and I was talking to Renee about it, and she's like, you got to brag about yourself. And I'm like, I don't know how to brag about myself. I really don't. I don't. She's like, Brett, talk about all the wonderful things you've done. And I'm like, I haven't. I've just been myself. I don't know what wonderful things I do. Doing this course today too, like, it took me a week to literally come up with, because I just do the things. It just comes naturally to me. And I always looked at that as something negative because it really hindered me. And I could actually now say, after taking this course this summer, I really got to know myself, and I got to know that it is a blessing. Like, it is an absolute blessing that I am who I am, and I made how I am. And now I needed to use it the right way. And that's why I decided I'm done teaching. I don't know what I'm going to do. I took a year off, but I need to utilize my skills of being able to understand people in a way other than just teaching. Like, next step. So there's a little bit about me. I think I have some other tools, but I think I'm done talking. So do we want to open up for questions? I'm here.
I absolutely think so.
Okay.
Let's do it, Jolie, okay?
All
And
right.
I'm gonna take your slides and put them into the chat right now. There was a couple slides that Jolie talked about, but we didn't show everybody. So just give me a second to save them, and then I will put them in the chat. And then if anybody wants, I can also email them after the fact. But let's open it up for some questions. If you've got a question, feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. I see that Andrea already put, what was the course, Jolie, if you don't mind sharing that?
The course?
Yes.
Yes, it was Classroom Management 101.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The course you took this summer.
Oh, the course. Oh my gosh. This is a really weird thing. It was on social media. And it was, I don't know. Again, I'm one of those people where things just like I put them into my space, and like things just kind of find me, but I have to be very open. So I was on Instagram, and I found this guy. His name is Victor Otto. I'll put it in, and he ran a course, and I think that was his name. No, he did a course, and it is. But he has some things on YouTube too that you can work. So you can watch and stuff. And sometimes I don't know. He might say, I'm doing a course, and it was a really weird course, but it gave me like, I don't know. I walked in, I told my husband, I'm like, I'm done teaching. And he was like, what? I'm like, I'm done. I am done. Like, I can't do this anymore. I found like, it's kind of a weird thing, but it really helped. Okay. I'm just going to put his name. You can follow him or whatever.
I see Emily's hands up too, Jolie, when you're available to take her question.
Okay. Yes, Emily. Because now it's.
I have a question. You're talking a little bit about like behavior. Like, I wanted to ask, because I know some teachers would do this and then some don't. But like some of them, when they really like can't deal with the behavior, they send them to like the administration. Do you think that like comes across as like demeaning to the student? And it's seen as like an embarrassment, because I know everyone takes it differently.
I'm one that you're rewarding bad behavior by sending them to the office. Mm-hmm. And honestly, they might need a break, but it's not to go to the office. And like Renee was saying too, it's like, you know what, I think you just, and I had this one student, I think he was one of my students that I could not reach. Like, I honestly, in all my years, I tried everything, but one of the things that I would do with him, and he, even in 6th grade, he couldn't self-regulate. And I'd walk up to him and I'd be like, sweetie pie, you need to just go walk outside for right now. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I know, honey, but I know you're not aware of it, but I'm aware of it right now. And I can see that you're having a really rough time, and just go outside and take a breath. If you don't want to walk, you don't have to walk. Just go outside and take a few deep breaths and then come back in. And I do it quietly and discreetly, so it doesn't embarrass them. And a lot of times kids will act out too, they'll be like, oh, I'm the troublemaker, go to the office, go whatever kind of thing. And I always tell my students too, when I talk to my students, I take them outside because everybody doesn't need to hear what's going on. And I will stand with my body so I could look at what my students are doing, and then I will have my students facing me so they cannot see anything that's going on, if they're crying, if they're upset or whatever. And I say to my class, this is between us. You don't know if they're in trouble. You don't know if I'm telling them that they might have to go home with somebody else. It's none of your business. It's just between us. This is my office. My office is out here, not in the classroom. And they all respect that, and they all like that kind of thing too. And again, I really try to make sure that I'm not, when I'm having a behavior issue, that can't even think anymore.
You're not escalating it, right, Jolie?
Well, escalating it or just rewarding it. That was the word I was looking for. Did that help you, Emily?
Oh yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Jolie, I want to say one thing to that
Yes.
before the next question too. Jolie specifically talked about her body movement in relation to the classroom. And part of that is by law, you have to be in the classroom.
Oh, no,
But when you're working with older kids, there's a different kind of flexibility. So you could literally like open your door, have your foot in the room and your ear right there, but be outside in a private space with a student talking to them. And so I love that Jolie talked about how she moved her body, because there's times when we have rules and regulations that we need to make fit into our reality as a teacher. And so I love that you said that. Also, one other thing before we go to next question, Jolie, you talked about the student going to the office, and I loved your response. I want to add one other piece. The moment we send a student out, that shows that we can't take care of that student or we can't handle them. It's somehow sending this message. Now, in some cases, in extreme cases, maybe, but it can't be a repeated behavior, because then what is that saying to the rest of the class also, and that student? You don't want them to ever think that they're too much for you. And I see Lena's hands up.
Yeah, I worked in 2 different districts, and I know in one of the districts down in Burbank, there were quite a few teachers that were fired because they used to send a lot of kids to the office. And you are absolutely right when you said that. That means the teacher has lousy management, classroom management, and you need to go work on yourself. That's what they would tell you. So if you send about 10 times or 6 times your kid to the office, that means something is wrong.
And
So.
I had a teacher that would buddy with me at recess, and she said, can I send my students, this is 1st grade, can I send my 1st graders that are not behaving, because they're going to have a recess detention to your classroom? And I'm like, sure, send them. And I'm thinking, they're in 1st grade and they have recess detention. So when they came in, welcome, okay, and I said, I'm going to have you sit here. These are my 6th graders. And it's not that I made it fun.
Yeah.
But I would talk, and I take time. 6th graders, I'm going to have you work. I'm going to talk to them for a second. Do you guys know why you're here? No, because the young ones, they really don't know why they're there. Because a lot of times the teachers just get frustrated and they're like, change your car, you have detention. And it's like, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're people too, like just talking to even a kindergartner and a 1st grader and a 2nd grader and talking to them. And it's not like they're equal, but when you respect them, they respect you. And it's that, that instant, kind of thing where, of course, I want to like scream and just, that's it. But I know that if I stop and I don't react and I work on it and I work through it, it will help. And again, this is something that's so important because as you become a seasoned teacher, you get set in your ways. And I see that. And teachers are like, I'm not doing that. I'm not trying that. And that's where I think a lot of teachers go wrong a lot of times too, because you need to be flexible. You need to try what's out there and what's going on. You don't know everything ever. Yes, I don't like detention. Okay, are there any substitute teachers? Oh,
I honestly, a lot of what Jolie's saying for anybody who's subbing right now, just start picking up these things right away. Like go buy a train whistle or a chime or like have your sound, whatever it's going to be. Sorry to chime in here, Jolie, but there's so much of what you said because with substitutes, anytime you're subbing, that is an interview. Always know that. Whether you're subbing as custodian, yard duty supervisor, classroom teacher, whatever, we're all interviewing you, trying to see who we're going to hire. So I know that sounds a lot. Get used to it. It totally is. The number one thing we're looking at is your management in a classroom. If you come and you're a sub and you need to call the principal 3 times the first time you're there, you will not be asked back. And so Jolie says about, bring tickets. Do one at the end of the day if you're there for one day, right, Jolie? Like it doesn't have to be 3 months. If you're a sub, you can transfer so much of what Jolie's saying here. Sorry to chime in, Joel, but like,
no, it's okay.
Just like transferring it over to what it looks like in a one day versus if you're there all the time.
Another thing that I learned that I loved, and this was from one of my friends who had only been teaching 1 year and she worked in Newhall, and she was like, oh, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. I know you're going to eat this up. Because again, I always need new tools for my bag of tricks. Like sometimes the old ones don't work. I need to trade up. So she was teaching me this thing and she's like, I know you're going to love it. And she's like, you make up some cue, and I forgot how she explained it, but this is how I read it. So, okay, class, every time I say my name, Mrs. McDonald, we got to think of something that you're going to respond back with. And then that's when you're going to stop, like rather than using a whistle or whatever kind of thing. So this would be good for in a sub situation as well. So, or if I'm in the library or if I'm on a field trip, this was my cue. So I had them make it up because again, when your students, when you give them permission and you have them help you make things up, it's now theirs as well. And they love that. And so it's like, oh, we helped do that. Oh my God, that's so great. So I did Mrs. McDonald, and the kids were like, we have to do something with farm. And I was like, oh yes. And then we just kind of started mixing things up and we came up with E-I-E-I-O. So every time I would say my name, Mrs. McDonald's farm, they'd go E-I-E-I-O, and then they'd place their hands on the desk. And I let them slam their hands on the desk and it made a noise and it bugged me at first, but then I was like, you know what, this is what they want to do. And they made up this. And so I would be in the library and I would say, Mrs. McDonald's farm at the end of it. They were about to check out the books. I know we're in the library, so we're going to do it really quietly. E-I-E-I-O. Or they would put their hands on their, or they would slap their legs. But it was, again, like one of those things where it was like, rather than me using my, okay, I need everybody's attention. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, class, it was something fun because I had a student tell me, Mrs. McDonald, we don't hear the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 anymore. We've heard 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in kindergarten, in first grade, in second grade, in third. We don't hear it anymore. And I was like, oh, so I'm so glad I'm doing this because they do, you just, if you have your own kids, half the time they don't hear you anymore because you say the same things over and over again. So it's nice to have something else as well. And I think that will work for substitutes too. Make it fun, you know, make it fun no matter what age they are. And I know Renee was one too, when I had her kids, even in 6th grade, she would always say, kids love stickers, I'm sending stickers in. And they do, even high schoolers love stickers. Like, and they might be like, can I get a sticker too, and be silly, but they really love stickers. They really do. They do.
Jolie, I have like 10 packs of stickers just sitting on my desk right here because anytime I mail students like gift cards or prizes or anything, everybody knows who gets them. I put stickers everywhere. You don't ever get something from me without a sticker. I don't care if you're 55 years old, you're still getting a sticker from me.
It feels good, even if it's just a little sticker. I'm telling you.
There's a couple questions in the chat that are directed towards me. Okay, in terms of if you are somebody asking about permit renewal, you'll have to talk to the person who's like your professional development advisor on your campus to make sure this counts. It shouldn't be an issue, and it should absolutely count towards permit renewal. For the workshops, we're not doing certificates because it's literally me doing, this is like 5% of my job, what I do with Teach for LA, literally. So I don't have the capacity. If you are in a situation where your work requires it, send me an email with all the information about everything you went to and what you need, and I can try my best to get it to you. But please know, something like that takes me at least a week or two because I've got like just an ongoing list of tasks I'm required to do. And so that's that. The certificates are something we're not doing with workshops, but if somebody's in a situation where you need it for work, they're requiring it, please email me privately about it. Tracy, also really important, asked about where do you get large quantities of stickers. If you ever want to buy scratch and sniff stickers, buy them online from Trend or get them from Lakeshore. And I love scratch and sniff stickers. I was a professor for 12 years, and I would put scratch and sniff stickers like on like important stuff, and the students would go crazy. And then another thing too, Dollar Tree, even though it's $1.25 now, their stickers, they still have really good packs of stickers that, you know, have quite a few stickers in them. So if you're ever looking to give away sheets of stickers to students, go to Dollar Tree because you can get between 4 to 10 sheets for $1.25.
Another thing I forgot that's really, really important. I mean, I could go on probably all day about classroom management because it is like my favorite thing. I always tell my students it takes 30 days to create a habit, whether it be good or bad. And I usually have that up on my boards, up in my classroom somewhere, because it is really important to remind your students too, because a lot of times they get frustrated too, where it's like, oh, like again, or this or that. And I'm 30 days to create a good habit. And homework, I know there's like some districts that do homework, some districts that don't do homework. That's a whole other whatever. But what I do for homework is I start slowly where if you just turn it in, I don't even grade it. Oh, good job. It's like literally training them. And believe it or not, I don't know. It's so, I kind of sometimes feel like I'm psychologically messing with people's minds, but it really does work. So at the very beginning, it'll be, oh, thank you. Oh, good job. And sometimes they'll just write whatever, but they want to turn something in, and some kids don't have help at home and nobody is there to help them. And they want to be like the kid next to them who has somebody who's helping them at home. And why do you want to make them feel bad? You know? And so I make sure that it's like, oh, you did a great job on that. And then I slowly then move on to, okay, like, let's take a look at what you're doing. Okay, you didn't really do any of these. How can I help you? Okay. And then I kind of tailor it where it's like, I know my students who don't have help at home, let's just do the odds today. Or how about you just try 3 of them and then I'll give you credit. But it, again, buy-in. And I always start with giving a lot of grace because it's a habit of just doing things over and over again. And then it becomes second nature, and the kids don't want to believe you, but I always tell them, just watch. Magic happens. Magic does happen. You just have to believe.
It's because they're invested in you, Jolie. When somebody is invested in their teacher because they know that their teacher's invested in them, they're a lot more cooperative and a lot more likely to line up with everything. So I love that. The relational side is one of the hugest pieces. We're almost at time here. Are there any other questions that we have for Jolie? I think she has time for probably one more.
I saw somebody saying they use Capturing Kids' Hearts. That's another great program too.
Any other questions or comments for Jolie before we wrap for today?
Well, I want to say thank you. Yeah, because this is like, I've done, I think I've done one presentation years and years ago for you. So this was, I was really nervous. I just, again, I'll be very honest. I was very, very nervous. And I'm very hard on myself a lot of times too. So I was just like, oh, I hope I do a good job. But then as I started going too, I felt like, okay, I got this. And just having, you guys chime in and doing things along with me. I thank you guys all as well. And I think Renee put my email in there, and
I put your email, and I also put your workshop that you have coming up later this week. And I'm very happy to say we have workshops even tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. And so, like I said before, everybody, this is this unique opportunity where we have this funding for 3 weeks. And so that's why we've got professional development like every day, because we maximize the funding. And so it's not going to continue forever. So please keep riding this train with me as long as your schedule allows. Tomorrow, we've got a first generation student who is a graduate of the community college system and a graduate of Cal State Northridge, who is going to talk to us about speech pathology. She's going to do one session on requirements, and she's going to do another session on her pathway and what her journey has been like as a first generation student and also as a young mother. She's a great role model for everybody. I'm excited for you to meet Maria tomorrow. And then we have Jolie coming back on Friday, which I can't wait for Jolie talking about working with second language learners. She didn't explicitly get into that today, but that is absolutely one of her areas of specialty. And over the years, I sent many students into her classroom to learn about that from her. Also, if you're available on Saturday, we have Jorge Ramirez coming in and doing 2 different sessions, one Saturday morning, one Saturday afternoon. And he's a specialist in terms of child development. He's a faculty in early childhood education, and he's a full-time teacher, preschool teacher within LA Unified. And so I'm really excited. He's going to be talking about developmentally appropriate practices. And then he's going to be talking about healing children that have challenging behaviors. And so just in the next 3 days, we've got 5 more opportunities to be together learning. And then there'll be more next week. So Jolie, you are fantastic. I knew this was going to be great. And I really appreciate that you took the approach of modeling as much as possible about all these different techniques you use. Andrea also just asked in the chat what time Friday. I think it's we're on 9 to 11, right? Or you're on 9 to 11? Yeah. Okay, join us on Friday 9 to 11 or anytime you're open within that time, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thanks for being together.
Thank you all for deciding. Yeah, thank you all for deciding to be educators. Like, we need you all. Bless you all. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you so much, Jolie. Great job.
One question. I have my conference period from 9 until 10. So can I just drop by?
Absolutely, Lena. I am a firm believer in show up for whatever your schedule allows. If you can be here 30 minutes, awesome. You know what I mean? Like, be for whatever you can. Know that anytime that I'm offering like opportunities for professional development, you come for whatever you can do. There's no obligation to be there the whole time. And the last thing I'd want is for you to go, I can only be there an hour, so I can't show up. No. Show up for whatever you can, my friend.
Okay.
We're here for you.
Thank you so much. Great job.
Absolutely. Have a great night,
everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Jolie.
Thank you.
Thank you.